British Democrats. He's now a parish councillor in Maidstone as well, and he's doing fantastic work there. And so I think a big round of applause for very hard-working, dedicated nationalist Lawrence Rustem. Thank you.
I was expecting jeers, not cheers. No. No. Seriously though, I wanted to talk about what attracted me to the British Democrats. And at the end of the 2000s, going into 2010, I, like a lot of people here, I think, found themselves politically homeless. And so, nearly a decade between 2010 and my coming into the British Democrats, which was what was it last year? Last year, yeah, April last year. I'd been for about 5 seconds in the English Democrats, found that their way forward wasn't anything deep and meaningful for me, and then I found myself in another party for Britain, and now there's one or two here that were within that organisation as well, but I found them to be, they didn't do it for me in here or in here. And I think there's a saying, capturing the hearts and minds, and they never really did it for me. And I think maybe that's because they were a civic organisation, and civic, for me, when they say anybody can be, no, a horse cannot be a donkey. So to try to pretend that something is when it clearly isn't, is, for me, it was barking up the wrong tree, and I was in turn hearing the wrong call. And I suppose in a way that consolidated the feeling of being politically homeless. I tried, I stood as a candidate for them in Maidstone the year before last, and it showed me a couple of things, standing as a candidate for them, that even though the vote was poor, there was no real help, apart from myself, that I looked at the vote afterwards and I thought, do you know what? There was no help, no proper leaflets. There was a generic leaflet, a couple that I was able to use. There was no personalisation with the leaflets or anything, but it showed me that there was something there in terms of the voting public. But again, in between all of that, it was the feeling that there was despair in me at being politically homeless. And so when the British Democrats came to me via somebody who's not able to be here today, he'd basically been, I suppose, doing a number on me. He knew that I was basically kicking my heels, doing nothing meaningful politically, but the politics in here had never left. The feelings had never left. The nationalism had never left from the days of the BNP. If anything, the time away from the British National Party, gave me, in all that time, the period of being out of it to coming into the British Democrats, gave me a time to think about things, to think about the way things are, to think about how I could improve, how have I improved as somebody politically. And you know, I came into the British National Party when I was 17, and so when I was, like so many others, witnessing its collapse, it broke my heart. And it took me a hell of a long time emotionally to get over it, because it meant so much to me, like I'd imagine so many here. So, coming to the British Democrats, you know, you look to the likes of other organisations and you think, no, it just doesn't do it for me. But the British Democrats feels like home. It feels like where I was. It feels like I'm at last able to pick up where I left off. And, you know, when you look at the likes of Liberal, Labour, Conservative, you consider what they're doing to the country, what they've done to the country. You look at, as Matt Godden touched on earlier, you've had the likes of the left and the Hamas supporters marching on the streets, jumping all over monuments, and then you've got Met Commissioner saying, oh, there's nothing we can do, they've not committed any offence. Hang on a minute. Dave Gilmore's son was dangling on the Senator flag, and he got banged up for it. So you're telling me there's nothing you can do? There's no arrest you can make? What a pile of rubbish. And I don't just mean the Hamas and leftists that are marching on our streets. I say to you, Met Police, you are also a load of rubbish. You do not stand up for the British people. You do not defend their interests. You do not defend its history. You do not defend its monuments. What are you worth? You're worth nothing. You look at the likes of countries on the continent. Recently, I've seen videos in, footage of the police engaging with these people in the likes of Spain. They're not messing about. Straight in, truncheons. Bosh. You have some of that. And so when I think about the Lib Lab Con and what they've done, as Matt again has said, you know, going through the institutions, they've made a long march through the institutions. And you think you're supposed to align with any of that? The Lib Lab Con trick? Or as I call the Conservatives, the Conserve Nothing Party, because they conserve nothing. They've conserved nothing at all. And so I can feel myself getting worked up, and that's when I feel better, right? And that's where the nationalism comes from. When I feel, I don't know about you, but when I feel angry, that's when I feel more electrified. And when I look at what the traitors in Westminster have done, the police at their bidding will soon arrest a patriot waving a flag, arrest an old man for defending their poppy, defending the flag, but they won't touch them. Why? Are they special? Or are you just getting down on bended knees to them? Are you surrendering? Because you know what? We don't surrender. I won't give in. I won't give up. And I have made a solemn promise to myself that I will do my damnedest to drag this party forward as much as I physically can, in terms of the efforts that I'm able to put in. And I will, when I was in the BNP, I gave it my everything. But you know what? I want to give it even more this time. And I won't rest until we are a really serious force, not just in Kent, in Maidstone, but as far and as wide in this country as possible. All right? I want to see this party bridging that gap to where one party ended to where we are now, and I want to see that gap closed. All right? And I want to see it closed in as quick possible time as possible, that it can be done. And I think it can be done. I think the appetite is out there, and I think the support is still out there. But I think people are looking in the wrong directions. People are looking to the likes of Reform. Reform, a party that wants net zero immigration. So if 100,000 leave, British people, 100,000 come in. So you're still being replaced. So what's the point of that? You're basically just another Tory party. You call yourself patriots and civics or whatever you want to call yourself. You are cut from the very same cloth as the Lib Lab Contric. You're no better. So when I look at the marches, look at the way the institutions have been taken, and I see that they are offering nothing, again, I look to the British Democrats and I think, this is where I belong. And I think it's imperative that as many people as possible come forward and help. I'm saying this for the ambition that I want to see this party fulfil. We cannot rest a single moment. We can't allow a single moment, a single weekend to go by without actually having done anything. The time to rest, now, some will say, oh, it's after an election has been done. No, as the saying goes, once one election campaign has finished, that's when the next one begins. So it's basically up to all of us to remember where we want to see this party. Do we want to be also Rands, or do we want to see this party start to win seats again, start to attract people again, start to attract growth again? We are growing, but in my view, it's not fast enough. Maybe I'm just too impatient. Right? I want everything today. I want to see us the size of National Rally today. But we're not going to get to that today unless we're out there putting in the foot slogging, doing the miles, knocking on the doors, putting out the leaflets, speaking to people. It's not going to happen on its own. It has to happen with us in this room. If there's one thing that perhaps we could all do for next year, or for the next meeting that you have, try and invite somebody along. Get them to see what we're about. Help us to grow, because there are people here that are pushing the boat out, but it needs everybody. We are a team, right? We are supposed to be acting as a team. We should remember that we are a team. Act together, grow together, encourage together. So these are all things that attract me to the BNP. To the British Democrats, right? Well, you know, it was in the blood for a long time. So, pardon the faux pas. So we all need to remember where we want to be, and you know, for me, my new home, and I think it's a home well worth living in, and it's well worth, you know, looking after and protecting and building. And so that's it. Thank you.